Hi, my name's Jeremy Concepcion. Have you or a loved one been scarred by a terrible gin experience? Perhaps you took some Beefeater from your grandpapa's cabinet, drank a bit too much, and now 25 years later, you still won't touch the stuff. If this sounds familiar, please reach out to one of our qualified specialists here at the Ethanol Review for a full gin rehabilitation. Call toll-free today at 1-888-420-6969. That's 1-888-420-6969. Gin gets such a terrible rap. I mean, we've all had that terrible experience of gin when we were younger. Mine was with Bombay Sapphire, where you had it, you maybe got drunk on it, and it was just the worst thing ever. And so there's so many people that are still turned off to gin completely because of old experiences, not realizing that gin is a huge spectrum of flavor and impressions and botanicals. It's all over the place. It's a really unique style of liquor. So gin, in its origins, traces back as early as we've seen to the 13th century, where juniper was mentioned. Juniper is the Dutch for juniper, and they were the guys who first kicked off this whole botanical infused into a neutral spirit. So in the 16th, 17th century, you start seeing the Dutch really produce gin. At the time it was called Genever, and this was basically a malt spirit that was a bit heavier on the palate, but infused with juniper and various botanicals. Fast forward a bit, the British were fighting alongside the Dutch in the 30-Year War, and the British tasted some of Dutch courage, which is what they called Genever. They drank it before they went to the battle. So osmosis and the British really start liking gin. In fact, there was a period in the early 18th century, like 1700 to 1750 or so, where everyone in London was drinking gin. They called it the gin craze, and people were just drunk and dying in the streets from all this gin consumption. In fact, Parliament had to pass 5 different pieces of legislature to try to combat this terrible gin mania. So over time though, gin started to evolve into what we now think of as modern gin, which is the London Dry style. Think Tanqueray or Bombay or Beefeater. But really it started as Genever, which is the sweetest, richest, most full-bodied, and then it evolved into Old Tom, another style of gin, getting a little bit drier, a little bit less sweet, but there's still some body to it. And then finally it turned into the London Dry style, which is like Beefeater and Tanqueray. So it just got drier and drier as time went on. But there's still 3 different distinct types of gin: Genever, Old Tom, and London Dry. Enter Plymouth. Plymouth is the oldest operating gin distillery in the world. It actually used to be an appellation, which means that you could only make this style of gin in this location with certain requirements. However, they don't do that anymore. But Plymouth is really distinct. It really stands out amongst all the other gins. So I felt like I needed to share this with you. Really importantly, this makes one of the best martinis in the cosmos. For real. Nolitz is really good too. That's a Holland gin. But Plymouth is such a classic for the martini. It's fantastic. And actually it isn't bad neat, even though that's not how I would normally take it. But yeah, these guys were founded in 1763 in a distillery that used to be a monastery. So now it's called Blackfriars Distillery, as a bit of homage to that history. But yeah, enough shitting around. Let's go and taste this gin. Perfectly clear, which makes sense. This is pretty much, gin is a vodka, sort of, infused with botanicals, namely juniper. So you're pretty much always going to have clear gin, except for some barrel-aged variants. Maybe certain Genevers may have a tinge of color to it also. since they often use malt. But yeah, really clear. Oof. I really like Plymouth. The nose is, it's got some earthy notes to it, like kind of soil, but there's a little citrus underneath. But it's not just a fucking pine tree. Like some of these London dry styles go so heavily on the juniper that it's like drinking fucking pine straw, which I'm not very partial to. This is a fuller, kind of rounder nose with earth and a little bit of citrus. I'm thinking like lemon, like burying a lemon in dirt and then pulling it out and smelling it. Yeah, because that's what we do. A nice nose, very interesting nose. Really approachable. It's got body, it's got substance, a little bit of residual sugar, so it's not bone fucking dry, like a lot of London dry styles are. Still with the earth, still kind of subtle and soft-spoken, but holds up, which I think is why it makes such a great martini. It just works with the vermouth. I mean, it's just a pillow for that vermouth to lay on, and that great lemon expression on top. Absolutely fantastic. I'll leave a link, if you're watching on YouTube, to the martini video I did so you can get an idea of what I mean. Plymouth is just good. If you hate gin, I highly recommend you give it another chance and you use Plymouth as your base. Or possibly Nolitz, which I mentioned before. That's also delicious. It's more delicate and more floral. This has good substance. This is a good ass spirit, man. You can drink this neat, as a matter of fact. I know, but it's true. Give it a try. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. I hope you learned something new about gin. It's okay to be rehabilitated. We can bring you back into the greatness that is gin. Let go of the vodka. Vodka's too boring. This is like vodka, but cooler, with more going on. Trust me, try this gin, and maybe it'll set you free from that terrible cage you've been placed in from your young, terrible experience with probably Tanqueray or Bombay. Not that those are bad gins, but they've scarred a lot of people. Again, if you want to be rehabilitated from gin, call 1-888-420-6969. That's 1-888-420-6969. See you next time. One thousand one, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1006.